After coming so close to a new installment to the Friday the 13th series, and it ultimately being cancelled by Paramount, we are now in the longest drought without a new Friday the 13th film in the franchise's history. I imagine that another film will be made at some point in the future, especially with the popularity of the game growing the fan base even larger day by day, leaving us to speculate. If they were to make a new film, what would it be about? And would they reboot it again? Or give us another sequel? My theory is that they would ultimately make a new sequel, continuing the original series further. Although I have some ideas on what they could do and how this could play out. First, I would retcon Friday the 13th Part 8 due to the problems with the continuity and everything from the New Line films to dispel the Deadite origin and everything else. Jason will still be at the bottom of the lake as a result of Tina Shepard's father dragging him there, bringing us to the present day with it being around 15 years or so since the last sightings or stories of Jason haunting the grounds of Crystal Lake. The movie itself would be taking elements from two stories from the Friday the 13th comics, those being Badland for the winter setting and possible death curse origin, and Abuser and the Abused for the main story, making the main character Maggie, a teenage girl who is still grieving over the loss of her mother, is both mentally and physically abused by her stepmother and boyfriend, as well as ridiculed by other kids at school. One night, while her father is out of town on business, her stepmother would take her abuse too far, resulting in Maggie murdering her in anger. The rush and instant gratification Maggie gets from this inspires her to continue her murders on anyone that has ever hurt her. Remembering the legend of Camp Blood and knowing it's been abandoned since Tommy Jarvis was arrested for the murders Jason committed in Part 6, which was then called Camp Forest Green, and with the snow expecting to only get worse with the coming storm, Maggie sees this as the perfect situation to place her would-be victims in. Using the popularity of her boyfriend to round up the others, she suggests that they use the old abandoned camp as a place to hang out undisturbed with no threat of adult intervention. Once there, we would meet the rest of the characters and briefly getting to know them a bit through their interactions with each other. And a callback to Part 2, I would have one of the characters telling the story of Pamela and Jason while they all sit by the fireplace while the snow heavily begins to fall outside. Then, after that, another character could begin giving us a story about the Native American family that settled on the same land that Camp Crystal Lake was built on, and how the Native woman and her baby were brutally murdered by 3 men looking for shelter from the coming storm, and how her husband came home to find their killers standing over their bodies. This man would in turn murder the others and possibly in a state of madness take his family and submerge himself under the frigid waters of the lake, drowning and joining his family in death, but not before placing a death curse on the land. Then Maggie's boyfriend Steve could jump out and scare all the others, but with an exact replica hockey mask and clothes Jason wore from parts 3 through 6, presumably being an old Halloween costume he put together to scare the older locals who still remember the fear of Jason lurking in the woods and seeing this trip as an opportunity to get some laughs. Angry about the jump scare, Maggie could storm out of the cabin towards the lake while Steve follows, trying to calm her down but ultimately becoming frustrated with Maggie screaming at him. He hits her in the face, causing her to pull a pocket knife from her jacket and stab at him repeatedly in the arms and chest area, forcing him off the pier and through the ice into the lake. The hatred and blood are enough to start waking Jason up as he begins to move under the water. Steve, still alive, attempts to climb back onto the pier as Maggie is walking away, thinking he is already dead. This is where Jason sees him and pulls him back under the water, killing him and taking his clothes and mask, resulting in some scenes of the characters mistaking Jason for Steve. The rest of the movie would be both Jason and Maggie killing each character off one by one until they finally meet at the end, resulting in Maggie trying to reason with Jason, as in the comics, proclaiming their similarities, but failing, as Jason would kill her as well. Finally, after decades, returning to his shack with Maggie's body and beginning the legend again. That's just a brief rundown on how I would love to see it done. Of course, I could go into further detail, but that would make this video way too long. But if you would like to hear it, let me know and I may consider doing a video in the future with a fully written story based on this idea. Or if you have an idea or theory of your own on how the next Friday the 13th could or would play out, comment below. I'd love to hear it. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hitting the notification bell to be alerted whenever another Dark Theories video is uploaded. As always, I am JG Dark, and thanks for watching.